How's it going, everybody? This is Dominic Minchella. I am the Kansas City Chiefs beat writer on SI and the host of the Kansas City Chiefs Insider Podcast. Thank you guys so much for stopping in today. As we continue into our predicting stats, and yesterday we talked about the wide receiving position. There we go. The wide receiving position. If you missed that, go check it out. And today we're going to be rolling into, instead of a group or a position group, we're going to be talking about predicting the stats for the 2025 Chiefs draft class. And this one is a little more intricate. It's going to be different, meaning that there's not going to be, like predicting their receiving yards and all that. It's more or less like who's going to get starts, how many tackles are certain of these guys going to get, what is the line that they have between starters or just being on the bench and developing. That being said, let's start off with Jalen Royals, just because we talked about him yesterday, and then after we will go starting with Josh Simmons. So Jalen Royals, I predicted that he will have about 300 to 350 receiving yards as a wide receiver. As we know, he is likely to be introduced or in the mix for the returning group, whether it be punt or kickoff returns. He's got a lot of speed. He's done it before. And I think that if Rashee Rice does come back healthy for week one, nothing gets put on him, I do think that he will be primarily used in the return game. And then slowly down the season as we continue, you'll start to see his role increase. But he's already making some improvements through OTAs. He's been a joy to watch. He's got fast hands. He's quick on his feet. He learns the game well. The defensive or the coordinators are very happy with what they're seeing out of him, as we've learned from their press conferences. So yeah, Jalen Royals, I think that he's going to have a slow start to his career, or at least he's going to be used in moments where it's, crucial. They're going to be big moments. While he might not collect the most receiving yards that you see like Xavier Worthy had in his rookie year, he's going to slowly build into that type of player. Now let's talk about Josh Simmons. Now, I have written down that Josh Simmons will make 10 starts. And the reason for that is because he's still coming off of that left knee injury, and a brutal one of that. While I am hopeful, much like the rest of the organization and the Chiefs Kingdom, that he will return and be ready, fully 100% ready for week one, which would boost the offensive line tremendously if you've seen him play. I'm not sure, because with an injury, I've had a knee injury myself, and I'm not comparing it to what I've had to do compared to what he has to do. I don't have to stop, big men trying to get to my quarterback. It was a stupid situation that happened. But I think that the knee injury might linger. It's a stability thing. While Travis Kelce has mentioned that that Josh Simmons is doing well in his recovery process, at least from the OTA's point of view, I do think that it'll be tough to keep him on the field as a starter, but his workload could either climb into those 10 starts, or he'll start on the bench behind Jalen Moore. We've talked about that on the podcast before. And I also am predicting that if he is healthy, he could be in the contention for Protector of the Year award. He's been, or at least in his college years, he was doing very well at protecting, didn't allow any sacks in his 2024. And while it was cut short, that's still an impressive stat to say. Now, let's go on to Omar Norman Lott. We've talked about him numerous times on the podcast. He's a big guy with large hands. He can block defenders or offensive players coming towards him with his big hands, block the vision. And given the fact that there are multiple veterans on this roster, I do see Norman Lott making a few starts, no less or no more than 10 though. And if I had to predict, I think that he would have around a 20 tackle mark. I think that is especially seeing what guys came off the bench last season for Kansas City. Those were kind of like the benchmark for where they were playing in. But I do think that in 7 starts, he'll be able to collect more. As well, if I have him down as with 3 quarterback sacks, that could greatly improve, right? Depending on the state of the defensive line, it's hard to decide whether or not these players are going to exceed or underachieve at their positions in their first year. But I think that those stats are fairly reasonable, just seeing how rookies have developed over the years in Kansas City, and I think that that's a strong start to your career, right? Defensive tackles, they don't normally get the most tackles unless they're combined or like no solo tackles. And let's move on to Ashton Gelati. And I've talked about this so many times. I am really, really excited for Ashton Gelati to get a role within the Kansas City Chiefs organization. That being said, though, I do think that he starts off his NFL career as, he's the 3rd string option. He's a backup to the backup. He still has a lot to learn, but I do think that he is going to be explosive and dangerous for the foreseeable future. That being said, I have made a prediction over on the site before, and I will reiterate it now. I do think that Ashton Gelati is going to be able to develop himself into a starter down the line. With Omenehu is on a 1-year deal. I think that if anything, if they want to show that the rookie has what it takes, you start to see him in one of those roles. And I have him around 24 tackles. Noel Williams, he is a interesting player, and I'm also excited to watch him play. I have him written down for 33 combined tackles with 3 interceptions because last season he had 7. I believe 7, just double checking my math here. Yes, 7 interceptions last season. And that was as a starter. I don't know if he will start, but he has the ability to. And if he does have the same numbers or the same success that he carried over from college, I do see him collecting about 3 interceptions with 4 passes defended. Jeffrey Bassa, I think that he's going to be used sparingly in his first season. There's a lot of competition in the linebacker room, and while he can play multiple positions, I do think that they will primarily use him as a linebacker. That's just my opinion. There's no intel or anything like that. That's just my opinion. I see him for about like 19, 20, 21 tackles on the season. I think that as they start to develop more, these guys are going to see more, action down the line. And it's tough to predict an 18 game season if you're a defender on how much you should tackle, or how much you should intercept. It's tough. It's easier for wide receivers because you kind of have a benchmark of what they've done in the past, but for linebackers, it's difficult. We've already talked about Royals, and then Brashard Smith. We've learned today, being Wednesday, June 4th, as the time of this recording, it'll come out in the morning, that Brashard Smith is a contender to be the punt returner, and he has experience both as running back, as a wide receiver, and I do think that his speed will be able to utilize him very well. I think that my prediction for him is that his Swiss Army knife mentality that he's been projected as advertised will be on display in Kansas City. You can use him in punt returns. You're going to use him in the running back game. You could use him in the passing game. I think that Brashard Smith is going to be much more of a problem than the rest of the AFC thinks he is, and that's going to be their downfall. That being said, guys, you can see on the ticker down below. You can follow me on X at Dom Minchella. I post and repost every single day. Would love to start up some conversation with you guys, as well as you can follow us at KC Chiefs over on X. We post every single story, and you don't want to miss them as we continuously get closer to the 2025 NFL campaign. That being said, Chiefs Kingdom, you know the deal. Be kind to one another, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.